It's really just because these types of products, although there's been some types of development of these products for several years, they've not been on the market in full access.
Well, in tonight's big story breakdown, we're taking a look into lab-grown meat. Now, stay with me here. This is a product produced through the practice of growing livestock stem cells outside of an animal, but how exactly does the process work? According to the FDA, it starts with a small sample of cells being taken from animal tissue, doesn't require the animal to be harmed or killed. Those cells grown to create a bank of cells, and a small number of them later taken from the bank, placed into a tightly controlled and monitored environment supporting growth and cellular multiplication. After those cells have been multiplied into billions or trillions of cells, other substances like protein growth factors and nutrients are added to the controlled environments. This lets the cells differentiate into a bunch of different cell types and assume characteristics of muscle, fat, or connective tissue cells. And once those cells have changed into the desired type, the material can be harvested and prepared using what we know as conventional food processing and packaging methods. Now, U.S. regulators first approved the sale of lab-grown meat in June of 2023. The Agriculture Department gave 3 California companies the green light to sell what they're calling slaughter-free chicken. At the time, the FDA already deemed it safe to eat. The chicken was first sold exclusively in restaurants in D.C. and San Francisco. Now, here in Oklahoma, there's a bill making its way through the legislature that would ban people in the state from being able to manufacture, sell, or distribute lab-grown meat. The bill passed the House today, but not everybody's sold on the idea. Fox 25's Capitol reporter Paige Taylor walks us through the arguments being made by both of those on each side of the issue.
What's next? Boneless chicken wings?
Some lawmakers not on board with the idea to ban lab-grown meat in Oklahoma.
And I just wish that my colleagues would call this what it is. We want to pick winners and losers in this building. And in this case, the winner is the beef industry and the loser is an innovative new science that's trying to create non-meat alternatives for people who need that for their diets.
Cell-cultured meat, also known as lab-grown meat, is produced by growing animal cells in a controlled environment without having to raise or slaughter animals. It's a new process that just recently got the green light from the FDA, but lawmakers across the country are coming out against it, including State Rep Ty Burns, who says his bill will protect the beef industry in the Sooner State.
This gets ahead of something that we need to get ahead of, protect, promote our culture. Good natural beef that a cow does for us. We don't need to grow it in a petri dish.
Some lawmakers also making this argument.
What does eating these cells do to us? Nobody can tell you. They can give you the short range, well, we eat Twinkies and we do this. This is not Twinkies. This is cells. This is a glob of cells that we have here that we don't know anything about.
Paige Taylor, Fox 25 News.
And lab-grown meat getting more attention in legislature and other potential bills. The House passed HB 1126 yesterday, designed to ban misbranding of foods like lab-grown meat. Senate Bill 96 would create the Oklahoma Meat Consumer Protection Act, which would require a person or company to disclose whether a product is a cell-cultured meat. The bill advanced out of the Senate earlier this month, and Senate Bill 1079 would stop restaurants from selling lab-grown meat. Now, other states also working to control lab-grown meats. Nebraska recently introduced legislation to ban it. Mississippi, they passed a bill a few weeks ago trying to ban it as well. Iowa's legislation, they have an outline labeling requirements also passed, and just last year, Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Tennessee, all considered legislation to prevent the manufacturing and sale of these products. The bills failed to make it through the legislative process in both Tennessee and Arizona. Florida's was signed into law, so it's now illegal to manufacture the cultivated meat to sell or distribute, and violators can actually face up to 60 days in jail. In Alabama, the penalty under law up to 90 days in jail. Now, the push to ban lab-grown meat is a mix of politics and economics. Reports show traditional meat is a $100 billion industry in the United States. And while some leading market brands are investing in cultivated meat, many in the agriculture business believe lab-grown meat could be a threat to their livelihoods. For example, Florida, the first to enact a ban, and the World Population Review found it's the 9th highest beef producing state in the country. Now, as for Oklahoma, our state's beef production, a crucial part of the economy. We ranked second in the nation for the number of beef cows in the state. And according to the state's agricultural office, there's more cattle than people in Oklahoma. In 2020, the state exported nearly $350 million in beef and veal, adding about $2.7 billion to Oklahoma's economy. It's also noted 91% of beef farms here are family-owned and individually operated. On the poultry side, the state's 12th in the nation for pounds of broiler meat produced each year. In 2020, we exported more than $92 million worth of poultry products. The Oklahoma poultry industry employs 30,000 people all across the state. So we looked into how the ranching and cultivated meat industries are responding to the proposals making their way through the Oklahoma Capitol. Fox 25's Tom Ferguson joins us live from the Capitol now. Tom, are there any fears of lab-grown meat ending up as the only option when you go to the grocery store?
Adam, the advocates and experts we spoke with today said that is not going to happen. We have their message to Oklahoma lawmakers considering these questions right now. When you order a steak at a restaurant or pick up some beef at the supermarket, most people think of their meat coming from a farm or ranch.
Beef, it is truly what's for dinner. It's also what's for lunch and breakfast in Oklahoma.
But cultivated meat offers a different method of getting food on Americans' plates.
Sometimes in our industry, we call it fake meat, if you will.
Michael Kelsey with the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association says his organization has been working closely on legislation to regulate the labeling of cultivated meat products. But he's not worried about ranchers losing their business to these options and says a ban is not needed.
So we would just prefer that the consumer be aware of it. Then they can make the decision whether they choose to purchase it or not.
They want what we want, transparent labeling. They want what we want, for consumers to know what they're buying. We want them to buy our product on purpose.
That was Susanna Gerber with the Association for Meat, Poultry, and Seafood Innovation. She says cultivated meat products go through rigorous safety testing, and that the federal government already regulates their labeling. Regarding efforts in Oklahoma to bring in further labeling laws,
I do see them as redundant. It is a little bit of a head scratcher.
Wade Brorson from Oklahoma State University is not even aware of any cultivated meat for sale in Oklahoma and does not see it as an immediate threat to the ranching industry either.
If they got everything right, it would still be 10 times the cost of beef. Right now, it's way more costly than that.
And that these products really don't represent our American values of the free market and fair competition.
Gerber also argued that cultivated meat could help America become more self-reliant in food production. Live at the Capitol, Tom Ferguson, Fox 25 News.
Thank you, Tom. And there are expected to be pros and cons coming up in the lab-grown meat industry. Fox 25's national fact-check team breaks down both sides and what remains unknown.
Let's start with the pros here. What are you finding?
Sure, Eugene. Well, one of the biggest advantages is that no animals have to die in the process. And another benefit is cultivated meat is not exposed to as many contaminants, making it easier to avoid foodborne illnesses like salmonella. And it may be better for the environment by reducing land and water needs.
So what about the cons? Why don't people like this?
Well, on the other hand, other studies find that it may actually be worse for the climate because of how much energy is needed to grow and produce the meat. There's also concern about whether or not production will be able to keep up with demand and the potential impact it could have on farmers' jobs and their livelihood.
So let's talk costs now. Will this cost consumers more?
Yeah, it's expected to, at least at first. However, it's unclear just how much, but prices are expected to fall over time as technology improves on this.
And that was your big story breakdown. You can learn more about the lab-grown meat industry and the efforts underway to ban it on our YouTube channel. Scan the QR code on your screen or search OKC Fox.